if I told you that during the most dangerous period in human history, when the world stood on the edge of nuclear war, the greatest enemies on Earth made a decision not to fight. Instead, they chose peace, not on land, not in cities, but on the coldest, most lifeless place on Earth, Antarctica. At the bottom of the world lies a continent unlike any other. No countries, no cities, no permanent population, just endless white, winds that can tear through steel, temperatures that freeze skin in seconds, a silence so deep it feels almost unnatural. For centuries, Antarctica was untouched, a place too distant, too hostile, too unforgiving. But by the early 20th century, that began to change. Explorers arrived first, men driven by curiosity, pride, and ambition. They risked everything, facing starvation, isolation, and death, just to stand where no human had ever stood before. Their courage opened the door, and soon others followed. By the 1900s, nations began to look at Antarctica differently, not as a frozen wasteland, but as an opportunity. 7 countries laid claim to pieces of the continent. Some of these claims overlapped, meaning multiple nations believed the same land belonged to them. At first, it was just lines on a map, but lines can lead to conflict, because beneath that thick ice, scientists suspected there could be resources: coal, oil, minerals, and in a world growing more industrial, more competitive, resources meant power. Antarctica was no longer ignored. It was becoming desirable. The 1950s, a time of fear and uncertainty. The Cold War had begun. 2 superpowers stood against each other, armed with weapons capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. Trust was gone. Fear was everywhere. Every move mattered. Every location strategic. And suddenly Antarctica, remote, isolated, and untouched, became something else entirely. A potential military outpost. A place to test weapons. A place to launch missiles. A place no one could easily monitor or stop. If even one nation militarized Antarctica, others would follow, and soon, the last untouched continent could become the next battlefield. But while politicians saw opportunity, scientists saw something different. Discovery. In 1957, something remarkable happened. Countries from around the world came together for a global effort known as the International Geophysical Year. Despite their differences, despite the tension, scientists cooperated. They built research stations across Antarctica. They shared data. They studied the Earth's climate, atmosphere, and magnetic fields. And for a brief moment, the Cold War faded into the background. Here, in the harshest place on Earth, people worked together, not as enemies, but as humans. It was proof of something powerful, that cooperation was possible, even in a divided world. Leaders began to realize something. Fighting over Antarctica would be a mistake. The environment was too extreme, the cost too high, the risks unimaginable, and perhaps more importantly, they had already seen what cooperation could achieve. So in 1959, something unprecedented happened. 12 nations came together, including bitter rivals, and they made a choice, not to divide Antarctica, not to fight over it, but to protect it. They signed an agreement that would change history. The agreement was simple, but powerful. Antarctica would be used for peaceful purposes only. No military bases, no weapons testing, no nuclear explosions. All territorial claims would be put on hold, not erased, but frozen. Science would be shared freely, research would be open, and no one nation would control the continent. It became something the world had never seen before, a place without ownership, a continent dedicated not to power, but to knowledge. Over time, more nations joined, not because they were forced to, but because they understood some places are more valuable when no one owns them. We often think of heroism as something loud, battles fought, wars won, victories celebrated. But the Antarctic Treaty represents a different kind of courage. The courage to step back, the courage to choose restraint, the courage to prioritize the future over immediate gain. Scientists who endured isolation and danger to expand human knowledge. Leaders who, in a time of fear, chose cooperation over conflict. These are quiet acts of heroism, but no less important. Today, Antarctica remains one of the most peaceful places on Earth. A continent without borders, without armies, without war. In a world still divided, it stands as a reminder of what humanity is capable of. Not just destruction, but unity. Because in 1959, at the height of global tension, the world didn't just avoid a conflict. It made a promise to protect something greater than itself. And for once, that promise held.